Well, today I'm going to finally give you what looks like the best optimal settings for Hogwarts Legacy, hopefully fixing your frame rate issues, my frame rate issues, and everything combined. I've been trying to find a way to fix my frame rate, and I don't know. There's certain things that I've been trying. I've turned off Steam Overlay. Right now, because there's a blizzard going on, it seems the particles drop my frame rate to about 15 frames per second, which is absolutely horrendous to try and play this game. Now, I have my settings on recommended, which is high, but that doesn't make any sense. Why on high, all of a sudden, I get 13 frames per second. Now I've gone ahead and turned down a bunch of my settings. I'm following a digital trends list saying to lower your settings. I'm now outside. It is still blizzarding out here. I am now sitting at 57, 59, 60 frames per second. I really wish I could just put the counter on the screen so everyone can see. But as you can see, I'm recording at a lot better ratio ultimately, and this is strange to me because I'm actually playing the game based on my monitor. If I want to get a solid 60, I can lower my monitor settings. This is something I talked about in a previous video. A lot of people apparently didn't find that very helpful. Some found it helpful, but it also led to the talk of other ones. Now that the blizzard is done, I have a solid 60 frames per second right now. I'm going to walk around here a little bit. I might skip around in the video just to try and find spots where things do lower. I'm down to 40 frames per second now. 53, 50. There's a lot of light textures here, and a light tends to be one of those things in this game that is always affected by frames per second. It's always been one of those things that's difficult, especially when you get into light particles like a blizzard that we have there. Took me a little bit there to load. I'm out in the courtyard at 49. 48, 49, 52. So it's very interesting. To me, it doesn't seem ultimately that bad. I'm using the Xbox Game Bar. It's built into a PC. You hit the Windows key and G, and you can bring up your frames per second, and then you can pin it so you can actually see it. However, it does not record when in OBS for some reason. I can't get it to record. It doesn't show up at all. It's very strange in that sense. Now, one things I did read was shut off your Steam overlay. That seems to have no effect on me whatsoever. I'm sitting at a basic 50 frames per second right now. The other things that I've heard and people have talked about is Divino, which is the anti-theft and security measure that they have added into the PC version of this game to stop people from stealing or trying to find a bootleg of the game or torrenting the game. That, in a lot of cases, and a lot of articles are saying, doesn't have any effect to the Steam or to the effect of the gameplay, and yet the Steam overlay seems to be affecting the frame rates per second more. I'm not finding either of those things. The Divino has also been cracked, so no matter what you put in there for a security measure, it gets cracked. So hopefully, maybe that comes out of the game, but I haven't seen too much of it. I don't know. That was it auto-saving there at the bottom. I'm still sitting about 50 frames per second moving around here. I can talk to people. Ultimately, I'm not seeing a huge gain here. 50 frames per second is not where I want to play the game. I want to play it at 60 frames per second. So the settings that I have turned to, I'll put them up on screen here. The settings in particular. So effects quality, keeping it at high. Material and fog down to medium. Sky quality low. You're not really looking at the sky anyway. Foliage at medium. Post-processing at high. Shadow at low, at medium. Texture at low. View distance at medium, and population control and quality at medium. The less population, the less sprites that actually go in there, the easier it is going to be to run this game. Now, I'm not using ray tracing. I run a 3070 Ti and a Ryzen 7 CPU, I should be able to run ray tracing, but for streaming purposes, it makes it very difficult. Now, if you go into the resolution, for some reason, if I go into windowed, it makes this very small and it just doesn't give the full effect, and the frames per second don't generally increase. And this is why in my previous video, I talked about lowering the screen resolution in particular, because there is no way to lower this resolution right here. I wish they would unlock this so I can control it at full screen. Lower it down like in most games where I can put it down to 1080. Rendering resolution is at 1080 anyway, so if I put my monitor down to 1080, it's generally going to help this along. You want this rendering resolution up a lot higher than 50%, meaning they're at half of it. The DLSS, I have turned around. I did find a program that allowed me to update this to force the program into a newer version of the DLSS. I found no actual gain by this. So that is another thing that has been out there. I have tried everything imaginable, looking at many forums, looking at many different things, and ultimately I had the best solution I came up with was to go into the engine.iui file, adding a bunch of text to it, which I'll put up on screen, and I'll probably pin it as a comment down below on that stuff that you turn around and you go into that file, and then you add this text to it, and it seems to correct a lot of the issues. But in the long run, dropping the resolution of your monitor to keep it in full screen seems to be the number one thing that helps fix my system. It doesn't work for everyone, but this is what seems to work for my system. I'm going to show you my desktop. I showed this in a previous video, and a lot of you didn't like the idea of this thing having to change the resolution of your monitor. You go into the NVIDIA settings and you lower your monitor. Like I'm running at 3840, which is 4K. And then I drop it down to a 1920 by 1080. This is where it's rendering anyway. It's forcing the render down to this. It just doesn't ultimately, to me, make any sense to have to do this because it changes everything I do for my system. You can see there how my system completely updated, lowering things down. So now this is where it's talking about the 50% PC usage in that sense. Now, when I go back to the game here, my frame rate is going to increase significantly, and I'm going to see a much smoother game ultimately. Now, for recording purposes, you can see it's a much smaller screen. I haven't changed anything in my OBS, which I'm going to do now. I just changed to a fit to screen so you guys can see it as normally. Now in the game, I'm back in this courtyard. I am seeing 5960 frames per second right now, and my GPU is only working at about 30% ultimately. So it's very strange, and to me this is a lot smoother in the long run. We can move around here. I can go back inside here. Let's see what it does. Let's see if a new area now is loading a lot better to me. I'm moving around. Hey, I got a thing up here I haven't done yet. See, these field guide pages, that's at 60 frames. Like, you know, I gain more out of this, ultimately lowering my monitor settings. To me, this doesn't make any sense that I have to lower my monitor settings just to bypass the way it sits there. So if I go into the settings here, you can see I'm now running at 67%, but it's lowering it down to a 720 from the 1080. So honestly, the way it comes down to Hogwarts Legacy, they need to do a proper update to fix these things. They need to open up the resolution so when you are in full screen, you can do this. You only have windowed full screen or windowed mode. If I was to put this into windowed mode, I don't see any change ultimately in my frame rate. Right now, this is the best I've seen. Now, as for the other things in the programming, I'll show you what I've added to my engine.ini file to get an idea on what you have to do there. Okay, I have multiple drives, so if you see things that are kind of funny looking for my hardware, it's interesting. Now, this is the path you take. This PC, local disk, user Sinner Shadow, that is my name. So this is replaced by whatever your name is on your system. It could be default, it could be whatever you call your system. And then app data, local, Hogwarts Legacy, saved, config, Windows No Editor is where you go for this. And you want to open up this file right here. What you want to do first is you want to take and copy this into a separate folder, so you have a backup copy of this folder. This is something that you don't want to do unless you are confident this is going to help you out. If you were to lose this actual folder, or you type in the wrong thing, this could completely corrupt your game, and then you're deleting the entire thing and re-downloading it for a new game, and you may even lose your save files. But if your save files are to Steam's cloud data, you should be okay in that sense. But you want to open this up. So you open up Engine, which I believe is right here. It'll open it up in a notepad, and you can see here engine dash notepad, and then you scroll all the way to the bottom, and you want to add these things that I've added at the bottom here. Let's see if I can shrink this down. No, it won't let me. I will move this up on the screen. There we go. This way you can see it all. So you want to add this. What I'll do is I'll copy and paste this into a pinned comment, and then you guys can just copy and paste it into this. And this seems to be the best thing that is done. This was the one thing that actually helped my game stabilize quite a bit. I can run it on 4K. I just can't stream it on 4K. And I'm okay with it. But if you want to get like a solid 55 to 60 frames per second, this seems to be the number one thing that you add to this file for some reason. I don't even understand all of this stuff here, but this is settings. This is in settings. This is stuff that it's just overriding configuring settings that you don't normally have access to in the menu of the game. This is something outside of that. And I've seen this similar for, with say, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. There was stuff like this also that was out there. You had to search for it and find it as well. But this has been the one thing that has helped me drastically stabilize my frames per second of the game. So it's very strange to me, once again, still having to lower the resolution of my monitor, combined with this, has created more of a much more enjoyable experience for myself and for everyone that sits here and watches the channel while we're live streaming. So hopefully you do find some help from this in the long run. Okay, so I have to add this in here. Please be very wary of what you download. If you go searching for the cracked version of this game, there is a lot of links that people are taking advantage of, where they are scamming people and using, and it is a hacked program. So use those with your own volition. It could lead to your whole PC getting corrupt. So be very, very wary of that. I have seen quite a few different versions of the cracked version of Hogwarts. So yeah, be very wary of trying to download that. Only download it from sources that you know of. Otherwise, I'm not searching for it. I already have the game. It's not something that I'm going to do. To me, Divino doesn't seem to be doing anything. Some people are claiming it does. Some people are not. We're going to have to wait to see where that lies with it all. Turning off the stream overlay is an easy process you can do, but ultimately lowering your resolution, adding that little bit of text to the engine IUI file or INI file, seems to be what has helped me stabilize my game. Avalanche, you really need to step it up and fix the stuff with this game so PC users can actually have an enjoyable experience from day one. Anyway, I'm your Proud Canadian Phoenix. If you liked this video or if you found it very helpful, leave a comment down below. Maybe share it out there with people that you know are having nothing but issues with Hogwarts Legacy. And until next time, you guys have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe.